that tinnitus that we're having at 45, 50, it started when you were 15, 16 years old, when you're wearing your ear pods and stuff. So can we go above genetics? Can we reverse this? I think we can. So we both align in the fact that we can reroute synapses. We can help reroute our brain. We can go into our favorite word, mitochondria.
Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of Wellness at the Speed of Light podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming not only a great guest, but also a friend, Danielle Carrera. She has an amazing telehealth business that is just absolutely crushing it right now, helping people all across the country to really reclaim their health and their life. Carrera Telehealth, of course. Yes. And just welcome to the program today. It's really great to have you. And as we do, we're going to dive right in.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, big gratitude here for putting me on this platform. I think it's very important that we can reach our community, not only our community, but the providers out there that are burnt out. And they want to hear from us, and they want to know what options, what solutions, and maybe coming together and kind of racking our brains and talking about what we've been through. We'll shed some light, right?
Absolutely. That's what we do. So first of all, let's talk about, there's really two major problems. And this is my whole entire platform. There's two problems. There is, on the one side, it's lay people. And when we think about, the medical world, people are completely lost. Right? It's a huge maze navigating the system. It's extremely corporatized. Right. People are completely brainwashed to, continuously doing things that are in, it's not to their benefit. I mean, they're really hurting themselves. So that's one side. And so there isn't a brainwashing of the American mind. There's a great book. It's called The Hacking of the American Mind, Robert Lustig. I always bring that up. So really getting into the minds of lay people and helping them to be CEOs of their own health, right? That's kind of the tagline. Right. That's the mantra. Mm-hmm. But then on the other side, nobody's more brainwashed than our colleagues, the providers, because 100%. They are also human beings, right? They've also gone to these great schools and they're taught a certain way, but they are also in a world that is over corporatized. It is really saturated with specific messaging, and the messaging is, like do whatever Big Pharma says, or, do whatever Big Food says, or things like that. So they're also coming brainwashed. So we have the blind leading the blind. I hate saying that as a physician, but it's the blind leading the blind, literally.
We were all traditionally trained, and we just followed in each other's footsteps. Yeah. And like you said, being in a corporation, we're kind of imprisoned, right? Yes. We get spanked. If we try and step out of that, we face repercussions. I worked for a very large corporation, an insurance company, as a nurse practitioner for 8 years. And I remember when I was there, a lot of long-term care facilities, we would be bonused if we kept the patient out of the hospital. So I had to be the nephrologist, the cardiologist, the psychologist. I had to take everything on, the intensivist. And if the patient was so sick, because it would go against my morals and my ethics, I would have to send them in. I wouldn't get a bonus. So I would get spanked. So we all fall under that. And I know that there's providers that are so exhausted. So from fighting that, and then from it being like cattle, just with patients, we have 10 minutes to see them, get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out. And we want to sit with them, and we want to educate them, and we want to make them their better selves. We just don't have time. So then we're getting burnt out. And I think we discussed this, that there's only 50% of providers that actually have their own primary care doctor. We're not taking care of ourselves.
Right.
We're not sitting back. So it really, I was myself so just overwhelmed, and I became the whistleblower towards the end of my career. And when I was a nurse practitioner, when I worked for this insurance company, because I would go in, these nurses were so exhausted. They were falsifying, you have to, as a nurse, you have to date and time a wound, when you change it, if you do the dressing. So they would chart that it was changed. It was 3 days after the weekend. I'm in there and I'm checking, and I go back on and I see on this dressing, it's 3 days old, but in the chart, it said it was changed, it was changed, it was changed. So I went into the DON and I said, hey, listen, you're going to have to say something to your nurse. This isn't right. Within 30 minutes, they had called corporate of the insurance company that had the contract, yes, with the nursing home, and they escorted me out. And I had to face the repercussion myself and go through remediation of learning how to talk. I was blown away. I could not believe it. But they pay us just well enough to where we can't get out and we can't leave. And they give us just enough good benefits that we're kind of stuck, and we don't have time to, because we're all type A personalities. We wouldn't be in this field, right? We love what we do, or we started when we began, we love what we do. It's a high for us. We want to help people. We absolutely love it. But we're so confined. So how do we go about now changing that and becoming the CEO of our own health as providers, but then also educating our patients, our clients out there, how you guys can do that? So I want to come together with you, right?
Yeah.
And let's start this. Let's educate everybody. Yep. Let's let them feel like they're empowered.
It's unbelievable how people do not have any. It's just, I don't want to call people clueless. It's the opposite. I love people. It's honestly, yes. Some people say, oh, they can find the information's out there. There's something called ChatGPT. You can figure stuff out. But most people are clueless as to their own health. Yeah. I mean, there's two major studies, that are out there. One was at University of Carolina. One was at another major institution. But they found that if you look at cardiometabolic profile, right, things like like waist circumference, prediabetes, hypertension, those kinds of things. If you look at these different parameters, only about 7 to 12% of all Americans are healthy.
I know.
When I give lectures, right, and I go in these rooms, how many of you guys are healthy? Oh, I'm healthy. I'm healthy. You have about 70% of the people, raise their hand. I said, how many are relatively healthy? It would be about 7. If I say perfectly healthy, obviously
define
people
healthy,
don't raise it.
Or define average. That's being on 3 or more medications, being fatigued, and being overweight. That's an average American, right?
Absolutely. In fact, it is staggering if you look at the number of people that have over 5 chronic illnesses and things like that. So. I bring this up to people, and the reason is because it really has to start with them. It's frustrating to me because I don't want to make people feel like it's their fault or anything like that, because I really don't think it's that. But sometimes you have to, kind of shake it out of them because they do not understand how sick they are. But here's the real important thing, and this is where we connect the dots. So we can say, okay, you're not healthy, and people are like, who cares? I feel fine. I'm good.
Until you're not.
Until you're not. Or they say, hey, I'm a little bit tired, but not a big deal, no big deal. It's connecting the dots that is really critical. And that is something that I have really taken, upon it. I have a whole, canned talk, one I'm going to give, tomorrow, and then the next day. Right. It's all about connecting the dots. And you look at basically your lifestyles, right? There's a whole branch of medicine called lifestyle medicine. And thank God that's coming on strong. But when you look at your lifestyle, basically what you put into your mouth, your sleep patterns, your spiritual health, all these other things, and then you combine it with other activities, how many meds you're on and things like that. You have to understand that body, it's like a body of work. Like people don't understand, like when you look at whoever, your favorite author, they have a body of work. That's what makes them them. Most people are not the one-hit wonders. It's a body of work. And when you put together that body of work, when it's negative, which is 90% of people are doing really negative things to themselves, that body then creates who they are 10 years later, which is a disaster. And when they get into that point, when they become chronically ill, it can devastate their lives. But we got to get them up front. Up front before they get to that point. And that's why building these communities is critical, because then they can come in and they can really learn. They can learn from each other. They can get educational materials that are basically designed to take them on a journey from point A to point B.
So I always
Yeah.
lean into the patient, because I really want them to know that I'm listening, and I start off with their emotional and their mental. But I also let them know that the heart attack at 50 started at 20. The old timers at 75 started when you were 40 years old.
Sure did.
Right? Like that tinnitus that we're having at 45, 50, it started when you were 15, 16 years old, when you're wearing your ear pods and stuff. So can we go above genetics? Can we reverse this? I think we can. So we both align in the fact that we can reroute synapses. We can help reroute our brain. We can go into our favorite word, mitochondria. We can go into the
we could talk mitochondrial. That's a whole episode in and of itself.
I know, but seriously, like going back in and repairing. So there are options out there, and I want the public to know, the Americans to know, the providers to know. There's options out there, and they've been around for a very long time. It's just now because of the GLP-1s,
right? You
know, like the Mounjaro, the Zepbound, everybody's so familiar. Oh, it's a peptide. Well, look back, 1920, insulin, that's the first peptide. Everybody's really familiar with that, but they didn't realize it was a peptide. So all these, they're at our disposal and very close to being approved by the FDA. But I feel that in hand with education and seeing what we can do as far as letting people know that, listen, we're here for you, and we're gonna give you options and opportunity in a way, starting from the ground up. So that's where I think that we need to really go with this. I mean, what has happened in your life specifically that you feel that's like made the switch?
For me, it's very simple. I been practicing for 20 years and following people, very closely. I know people, I mean, there's people that have, become friends of mine that are patients, but I have seen so many people go from being highly functioning, basically very, joyful, like kind of youthful people, even if they were already in their 40s, 50s, 60s,
right,
to a catastrophic disasters. I mean, disasters. And here's the kicker. A lot of them are not people that like shun the medical system. They're not like, oh my God, conspiracy theorists, I'm going to it's the opposite.
Right.
They're the ones that are actually overusing, in many cases, the system, a system that is designed to keep you sick and coming back. In what world do you make more money by your patients staying sicker? Basically, what was happening is, just to give you an example, I'm just going to make something up, right? Mrs. Jones.
Yeah.
Let's say Mrs. Jones. I've known Mrs. Jones. And so now let's go back 15 years. So Mrs. Jones comes to me, and something to do with her spine, right? As a spine surgeon. And so, maybe I'll do a discectomy, whatever, operation on her. But then I'm following her along, right? Because she's got a mess of a back. That's one thing. So she's following. But what am I noticing? Over the years, Mrs. Jones is getting sicker and sicker. Now she's lost her job. She's having financial trouble. She's obviously feeling unwell. Not only does she have physical ailments, her hypertension, her diabetes, her obesity, everything is on the rise. But on top of that, mental health issues, not positive about, about her life, not having any more direction. I'm just like shadows of their former selves. But the thing that is most bothersome is that these are not people that I look at their charts and they haven't seen a doctor in 2 years. These are people I'm like, oh, Mrs. Jones, you've had 97 doctor visits in the last 2 years, but yet you're sicker, but yet you keep going back to the same well. And again, I want to emphasize, I'm not trying to say that my colleagues are trying to keep people sick, or that it's just the way that the system is designed. And you know what I make people do when I give my lectures? I have everyone take out their pen and paper, and I say, hey, listen, write this down.
Yeah.
You're not being assessed, you're being processed.
Right.
And unfortunately, we are processing people like we process meat at the meat market, and they're just on the hooks, spinning around. Sometimes the meat goes bad. You throw it. I mean, it's really bad what we're doing. So there are other options, but we have to reinvent the system, and we have to give people options where they can become really educated and dialed into their own lives and actually take a true self-assessment score for where they are, and then we can help guide them out of that. But if they don't take the initiative to do it, and they think that they are going to get necessary, and I'm not telling people not to go back to their doctors or do people have really serious medical stuff, but there are other ways that they can really, really take the bull by the horns and really be the CEOs of their own life.
Sure. And I think you can't have a new reality with an old mentality. So you and I and every other provider can be out there, but it's going to be the responsibility of the patient themselves and the client themselves. And we make it very convenient, right? We make it affordable. We have all different levels of everything.
Yeah.
So it's up to that person. And you can't manage stuff that's not measured. So I'll have patients come in to me and they haven't had labs in 2 and 3 years. And they're on all these medications. You know, they're on statins, they're for hyperlipidemia, they're on blood pressure, they're on diabetes. And I'm like, hold on a second. Like, I need to do baseline labs.
And we have no idea what's going on inside their, you don't know what's going on inside their bodies. Yeah, they might not look well.
Right.
But you don't know how unwell they are until you measure it. And that's why you're absolutely right.
Or they look well and they're a mess inside.
Yeah, they could look well and be absolutely
I've seen a ton of those.
A catastrophic disaster. And so, you brought up the labs. It's like the way you do things, is very similar to the way that I do things. I mean, just the traditional standard labs are not enough to know. And people, just ask me, my primary gave me this, my primary gave me that. I will just tell you, all these folks out here that have access at least to the knowledge. And again, even people that are wealthy,
sure,
a lot of times, unless they found a guide to help them through, they don't even know what they need or what, but they tend to go to these clinics that do like the full. No, but if they didn't know that, they still wouldn't do it either. So having a battery of tests and then measuring and then following them with things like an Aura ring and heart rate variability and monitoring continuous glucose monitoring, all these things are critical.
Medical licensed provider also. Yep. So there's so many influencers out there, right? Let's get your hormones checked. It's only $36 for these. I'm like, what? How can you even do that? But there's no follow-up. And I look at it now. So hormone replacement therapy, it was a big taboo, like, no estrogen. And if you're on testosterone, ooh, that's horrible. It's only for bodybuilders. Well, now that's gained momentum. And it was just passed in February 2026. I think her name is Dr. Rachel Rubin. She's a urologist, but she finally got the label off of like estradiol and all those that says, this is going to cause blood clots and this is going to cause heart problems and dementia or Alzheimer's. She was able to go to the FDA and she goes, I know the data. Mm-hmm. Let's remove this. This is not true.
Well, it was complete 100% misinformation, right? I mean, this is so all over the media right now.
So as providers, you go in, you maybe have one class on that, on your specialty. I mean, how much did you do in hormone replacement? Probably not a lot, is it, right?
No comment.
Right. Well, and my thing was, there's specialties for each person. So you want to go to someone, you're not going to go to an orthopedic spinal surgeon to go have a baby. Right? You want somebody that specializes in this.
I have delivered a number of babies, by the way. But
have you?
That's just an aside.
But was that in like
that was when I was at med school. Believe me, every time the baby was about to be delivered, I was the guy like, let me get everyone some pizza.
Why?
Because I didn't want to do it.
Nuh-uh, really?
No, I probably have the record for the least babies
we got to
delivered
remember that
of every
then.
med
Okay,
student,
then I'm calling your name if we're ever in like a crowded room.
No, I was like, I'll get the. Can I get everyone pizza? I'm paying.
Yeah.
I'm broke, but I'm going to pay anyway because I don't want to deliver this baby.
I did a lot of OBGYN. I love it. You got to have a knack for it. My point though was that you need to find a provider that specializes in this, like hormone replacement therapy. Yep. I've done a ton of work in that. Peptides. That's another one. Who are you going to? Are you looking on social media? Are you looking at these influencers? They're great. They've brought it to light. And you and I have talked about that. So I think it's really important, again, that we educate and we help make it known and people aware there are options out there, that they're not stuck and they don't have to continually, have to wait in a waiting room. Cause that's another thing too. VIP concierge service, like easily accessible. How do you get that now? COVID came and it opened everybody's.
It opened up the telehealth.
Yes, like crazy.
It did tremendously.
Yes. This light went off.
You bring up a bunch of, points, and that is almost kind of also, like discussing kind of the other side, of the coin. And now, like, you think about the providers.
Yeah.
And their siloed behavior, they are stuck in the old ways. And sometimes the old ways are good, because I love the old ways.
Yeah.
We talk about Chinese medicine, all this stuff. I love the old ways. But the old ways in our thing are just wrong, because we know so much from things outside of what traditional medicine that can help people.
Sure.
It becomes so bothersome. So I think that what people really need to do, and I know that you agree with me on this. I at least I hope, I would imagine you agree with me on this, is the following. They have to understand they need to seek people that make it a mission to really learn way outside of what they had traditionally, because again, we're taught in a very traditional way. So learn outside of that, really become experts in other fields. Now, not everyone's going to be an expert in everything,
right?
But having these networks, right? Like for me, I just bring my network of people from all over the globe to people, so they can have access to people they would never, they don't even know how to find. You can't even Google some of these people because you don't know who they are. It's like some professor like in Bucharest or something,
right,
that happens to know something about this stuff. So I think that people have to understand, number one, they can find these people that just think very differently, and get like the answers that they're not going to get in the traditional they're just not. And again, I'm not telling people to go out to not do the traditional medical system. If you have cancer, if you have one of these other things, we have great options. If you have a car accident, no, we're not going to give you red light therapy and a couple peptides and say, call it a day.
Exactly. Pneumonia, we're going to treat you traditionally.
You need to be treated.
Yes.
But the point that I'm trying to make is, there is such a gap between what people are actually getting and what is possible. And I know this because I come, even in my, my upcoming book, I talk about my ignorant phase. I had no idea. There are so many people that I could have like literally completely turned around their life, except I didn't have any of the knowledge I have now.
Elaborate on that for me.
Like, you know how many people, chronic pain sufferers, people that were suffering from all kinds of chronic diseases and things like that. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have all the biohacking tools. I didn't have the stem cell tools. I didn't have this network of people like globally that I can go through. I didn't understand the microbiome,
right,
and how, like now, I've had Dr. Emran Mayer on my podcast. He's literally the leading guy in the world. And I was asking, we were talking about like red light therapy and how that can change your microbiome and give, it's good for the good bacteria and for the bad bacteria. Anyway, the issue is that the gap between what you can get if you stick in the traditional medical system and go there basically for your longevity plan, which most people don't have anyway, but whatever, to be around longer, to live happier, healthier lives, the difference between that and seeking out, and people have to understand, when we say concierge medicine, yes, there is levels, right? There are people that want to, hire, us as providers that are very high net worth. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about people have access
every day
to concierge providers, and it's as simple as joining a network, a community that's all that's talked about. That newsletters all directed towards improving longevity, improving well-being. What's the latest in stem cells? What's the latest in this? From experts, not from the guy at the gym that wants to show himself shooting up. That It's great. I'm glad they're putting peptides, on them. But do you know how many of those peptides have they have endotoxins in them.
Exactly. You have to get them from a compounding pharmacy that they check them for endotoxins.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of impurities, and if you, depending on the studies, you could be up in the 20% or something. And sometimes you're not even getting whatever they think they're getting. So that is not what we are. We're not pushing any of that, that stuff. But the thing is, there are so many tools in the toolbox for those of us that are doing what we are doing now, which is basically, consulting with people and helping guide them, not for today. Oh, here's a script. Have a good life.
No, but for longevity.
Life plan.
Yes.
Life plans.
Yes.
People can sign up with providers for life. And I'm not talking about your doctor. I'm talking about people that can help you, guide you with all your doctors, help you with your cardiologist, with your pulmonologist, with your diabetes, with everything. That's very different than the traditional model. And people can decide, and they can get into these programs at a very low level where they're paying, $200 a month to completely change their life. That's not worth it. It's a scam. It's this, it's that. No, it will literally change it because it's going to put things on your radar you've never even heard of.
Exactly. And there's so many people that don't even carry insurance. And if they have to buy an Obamacare or some type of, it's so expensive.
It's ridiculous.
It's
actually right now.
$1,200,
It's
$2,000,
ridiculous.
$2,500. I see it for one person for a family. And it's like, okay, well, hold on a second. There might be other options for you also. And then I also look at this, Dr. Sinicropi. How many people have you seen patients come in? So I've had patients come in and they can't afford their medications. They have acrylic nails on, not only on their fingernails,
Here we go.
on their toenails.
I love this conversation.
I'm being serious.
No,
they're getting their eyelashes done. They got the really nice watch on and everything else. Listen, guys.
And they just drove up in their brand new, whatever it is, Toyota 4Runner, whatever. Brand new. They just came off the lot.
Whatever it is.
And then you give them, and then if it's anything cash pay, my insurance doesn't pay for it. And then there's all this, it's a bunch of, it's very frustrating.
So when they come, it is, it's frustrating. And we're here and we're like, you guys, you got to see what your priorities are now, because you're going to come one day and you're going to walk into the ER and you're going to leave with a bill that's $300,000. Think about that when you could have prevented this. So,
and medical bankruptcy, folks, it's real.
Yeah.
And it's devastating. Mm-hmm. It's a problem. It's a huge problem in the United States. There's a lot of good work out there. We can talk about that another time, but people do not tie the possibility of getting sick with how devastating it is for them on every plane. What happens with their families, their relationships, their businesses, finance is just a number. Everything else comes with it.
Sure.
And so making the investment in themselves to really have access to the right resources. People think that just going to your primary doctor, and again, I encourage, if you love your primary doctor and they're doing good stuff, stick with them, go all in. But what I'm saying is the average visit is 7 to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're not getting anything. So if you think that you're actually getting a life plan when you go there for those visits, it's not even a joke. It's because if it was a joke, we could laugh about it.
Right. No,
it's very much harms them because they go there and they're like, oh, you have a clean bill of health. And they got a CBC and a chemistry.
And what does that show?
And they're not in atrial fibrillation. Congratulations. You're not going to die today. That's great.
Well, let's go a little deeper.
Let's go a little bit deeper.
So my husband, right? This is a couple years ago. I go, we need to get a primary care because I was taking care of everybody and their mother. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. We need to go in. We need to have somebody that is affiliated with a hospital, God forbid. We're in an accident and we can go in, right? And we have our primary care. So that, number one, establishing that, I encourage that.
Absolutely.
But what about on a weekly basis or bi-weekly or a monthly? Somebody to be there for you, questions, thoughts. And again, going right down to the baseline of mentally, how do you feel? You don't feel so good. You can't lose those 12 pounds. Let's talk about it. Let's see your habits, right? Mm-hmm. Or you feel like your synapses aren't crossing as well anymore. Are you going through menopause? Or are your hormones off? Or are you just fatigued? Let's look at that. Let's talk about it. Are you thriving? Because that's where I want to get all of my patients, all of my family, all of my friends.
That's the key word. That's the takeaway word of the day.
Yes.
Thriving. Are you thriving?
Yeah. Because do you want to be average? I don't want to be average. I don't do average. Who does average?
I can tell you the wrong place to be sitting, if you want to thrive, is the traditional medical system. Mm-hmm. It's not about thriving. 90% of it is all sick care.
Sick care.
Right? 4.9 trillion now is kind of the latest number. And 90% of it is when you get sick. 10% of it is preventative, and I don't even know what that. I mean, preventative. I guess like you give people some flu shots. They tell them to take.
You go get a mammogram.
Yeah, like that, which is great. Yeah, get a mammogram, get your colonoscopy or Cologuard, get your prostate, get PSAs, all that stuff. Definitely get your bone density tested and way earlier. My belief is at 40 years old, women 100% should have their bone density tested. I think that the guidelines currently are absolutely ludicrous, ridiculous in so many ways.
Your
I can
bone
talk
density
about
starts, isn't it at 30 something?
You can start it, but that's not where it's covered. You know, like for women and
mean when it's like everything starts to kind of break down. I see it with it's perimenopause.
Perimenopause. You know, like having the thing, but also our society. There's so many people that are, sedentary. There's so many people now that are on GLP-1s and they have no muscles.
Yes.
And that is creating. And so lately there's been a lot of like buzz about osteopenia, osteoporosis caused by GLP-1s. It's not really
hair loss. You have to understand who's dosing it for you.
Yeah, but it's not really causing osteoporosis. It's causing sarcopenia, which directly leads to osteoporosis. So it's a complicated thing. But again, none of this stuff is being talked to. You know, when I see people to get their first bone density after they've had a fragility fracture,
right?
So they're already screwed. So they already have just had their hip fracture fixed, or they have a spine fracture. We have people that come in, they have 12 spine fractures, literally. Like their spine, it's dust.
Like a spontaneous fractures?
Yeah, they'll have, they cough and fracture.
Oh my gosh.
And because no one ever looked at it. And again, this is the reason to join these communities, do whatever you can. And if you can afford it, you really should think about hiring, a provider or a provider group or whatever to manage you, not as your doctor, but somebody that can manage you along. Because when you get in trouble, you want people that know people. Right. Because you don't know what to do. You can't navigate it. I talk to like high net worth people all the time. They don't know how to navigate. They're like, oh yeah, my mom was in a nursing home. We had no idea what to do.
I don't want to be like this. What do I do?
Or you hear all these poor people that get stuck in hospitals, and the whole thing is like catastrophic for them. They don't know what to do. Their family's trying to plead for them or whatever, but they're stuck with whoever happens to be there. Whoever's on call that day, you're stuck. That's your doctor.
Wow.
And again, they might be good, they might not be good, but you are rolling the dice, because you know what? On the baseball field, right? If you go to the game, right? We're in LA right now.
Yeah.
If you go to a Dodger game, not everyone's the same. There's some stars and some not so star. And then the guy that's batting, 162, and he happens to be up because there's an injury. You might get that guy.
You might get lucky.
That guy or gal.
Right.
And so you're just thrown in there. So having a resource where somebody can actually make those phone calls for you and coordinate with those doctors and do all those other things makes all the difference in the world. So name of the game is join these communities. Think about there are things out there. Obviously, we'll continue to provide resources and information to people.
And it's not something so major either. It doesn't. It could be something as simple as the Face It protocol, like flexible, movements or equilibrium. Brush your teeth. Stand on one foot while you're brushing your teeth. Just start, I don't know, doing something to change your life.
Most people, if they stand on one foot, they're going to fall down and break something because their
though.
Equilibrium is so it's so bad. I mean, this is real. I make people do this kind of stuff in the office. It's bad. I'm like, I'll stand in front of you and catch you.
But isn't that crazy?
When
so
you're
you know
about
what,
to fall.
guys? Go home and stand on one foot and tell me how you do.
Go home and stand on one foot.